Some people did something. That was how Representative Ilhan Omar described the 11th of September 2001, speaking to a CARE audience in Woodland Hills, California, on the 23rd of March 2019. 3,000 Americans had died that morning. She used 5 words to describe it. Some people did something. 5 words. 3,000 bodies. Hart Senate Office Building, Hearing Room, 219. 43 minutes ago, a senator from Louisiana walked in. He brought a manila folder, tan, the corner bent, the label on the tab reading one word, receipts. Inside the folder were 4 documents, each with one word tabbed in pencil. Document 1, money. Document 2, marriage. Document 3, Benjamins. Document 4, 3,000. The 4th document was a transcript of a speech, highlighted in yellow. The yellow ran under 5 specific words. Some people did something. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana brought no witnesses. He didn't need any. He had the speaker. Hit that like button and subscribe, because in the next 40 minutes, a country lawyer from Madisonville, Louisiana, is going to ask Representative Ilhan Omar 4 questions. The 4th question will name every American who died. And let's go back 43 minutes to the moment Ilhan Omar walked into Hart 219 with her brand new strategy. The strategy was identity. The strategy did not survive the manila folder. The hearing room was wood-paneled, high-ceilinged, lit by long fluorescents that hummed faintly above the bench. 4.8 million Americans were watching live. Omar wore a navy blazer and a white headscarf pinned at the temple. Her leather notebook sat on the bench in front of her. In her left hand, folded once, was a small white card with her own handwriting on the inside 3 lines she had written in her kitchen at 11:47, the night before, after her staff had left. She had not yet noticed the folder across the bench. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana sat with the manila folder and 1 styrofoam coffee cup. The coffee was from the cafeteria, 2 sugars, no cream. He had been waiting for 19 minutes without opening the folder. The Pelosi smile was not in this room. The Pelosi smile belonged to a different hearing. This room had a different smile. The Omar smile was sharp at the corners, combative, the smile of a woman who had walked into 8 hearings in 6 years and walked out of every one. She had walked out of the Foreign Affairs Committee vote in February of 2023. The vote had been 218 to 211. She had walked out smiling. She had walked into Hart 219 this morning, smiling too. She had walked past the press section, past the gallery, past the long oak bench, and sat down at the witness table with the same combative smile she had worn for 6 years. The aide who handed her the bottle of water at 8:43 had told her one thing: senator from Louisiana, country lawyer reputation, likely to underestimate, don't engage with the documents. Pivot to identity. She had nodded, written the strategy on a white card, folded it once, and put it in her left hand. She had walked into the hearing room at 8:56. Senator from Louisiana, Omar, said. The voice was the practiced voice she used at Democratic Socialists' rallies. I respect every senator from every state, even the ones who represent states that did not consider me human until 1865. The Progressive Press section moved. 3 reporters wrote one word in their notebooks: drawing. Kennedy did not respond. He picked up his styrofoam coffee, took 1 sip, and set it down. The room watched the cup. And I would note, Senator, that this committee is led by a man from a state whose Senate seat was held for 140 years by men who would have called me property. She let it land. I have heard this script before, from men who looked exactly like you. In the wings, Omar's communications director, Jeremy Slevin, looked at his phone. Jeremy had been with Omar for 6 years. Jeremy knew the script too. This was the opening salvo. Identity attack. Within 3 minutes, establish the frame, make every question that follows a referendum on the questioner's biography. The Progressive Press section applauded once, quietly. Kennedy waited until Omar was done. He set down the coffee, picked up his half-moon glasses, and put them on the chain, caught the light. Then, he picked up the manila folder. He did not open it. Ma'am, the voice was the Louisiana voice Madisonville, north of Lake Pontchartrain, south of the Mississippi line. My grandfather was a sharecropper in North Louisiana, picked cotton for a man who would have called him trash, same as you. The eyes were quiet behind the half-moon glasses. We are not here today to compare grandfathers. We are here for 4 documents. He set the manila folder on the bench and opened it. The camera zoomed. The first document was visible, the pencil tab, reading one word, money. Behind document 1 was document 2, the tab, reading marriage. Behind document 2 was document 3, the tab reading Benjamins. Behind document 3 was document 4, the tab reading 3,000. The hearing room was quieter now. Omar's hand tightened on the white card. In the wings, Jeremy Sleevan's phone lit up with a text from a number labeled simply DCCC. The text read 2 words, don't engage. Jeremy did not show Omar. Kennedy turned to the first document and took 1 sip of coffee. $3 million. Ma'am, let's start with the money. Kennedy's hand moved to document 1. The page turn was loud in the silence. He did not look at Omar. The camera zoomed on the document, a Federal Election Commission filing with the header, Ilhan for Congress, reporting period August 2018 through September 2019. The filing had been submitted by Omar's campaign treasurer in October 2019, and a copy had sat on the public FEC database ever since. There was a single word in pencil in the margin of Kennedy's copy, E. Street. Ma'am, help me understand something. Kennedy's voice was the country lawyer voice, now the one he used to ask the question that ended the witness. He took 1 sip of coffee. Your campaign, Ilhan, for Congress public record, between August 2018 and September 2019, your campaign paid a consulting firm called E Street Group LLC $369,000 for consulting, travel, fundraising, digital. He set the page on the bench. The eyes came up. Your husband, Mr. Timothy Mynett, is a co-founder of E Street Group LLC, public record. He has been a co-founder since the firm was incorporated in May 201715, months before your campaign began paying it. The room held still. Omar's hand was still on the white card. Yes or no, ma'am? Did your campaign pay E Street Group $369,000 in that period? Senator, the relationship between my campaign and... Yes or no? 3 seconds passed. Yes. Yes or no, in the first quarter of 2020, after you and Mr. Mynett were married, did your campaign pay E Street Group $292,000 in 3 months? Senator, all consulting payments were... Yes or no? Yes. Total payments from your campaign to your husband's firm between 2018 and 2022 by Federal Election Commission records, $3 million, ma'am. The hearing room was silent. Kennedy turned to a second page, a divorce filing. Beth Mynett versus Timothy Mynett, District of Columbia Superior Court, August 2019. Ma'am, public record Beth Mynett, Mr. Mynett's wife at the time, filed for divorce in the District of Columbia in August 2019. In the divorce filing, Ms. Mynett alleged that her husband had told her on the 7th of April 2019 that he was, and I quote, romantically involved with you. He set the page down. The camera zoomed on the page. The date April 7th was visible in court typeface, and Beth Mynett's signature was at the bottom. 6 days after that conversation, ma'am, your campaign began paying E Street Group for Mr. Mynett's travel expenses, $21,546 in 10 weeks. After. He took 1 sip of coffee. The cup was less than half full now. For Mr. Mynett's travel in 10 weeks, while he and his wife were in divorce proceedings, and while you were, by Miss Mynett's filing, the reason for the divorce. He turned to a third page, a Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board ruling, dated June 2019. Ma'am, The Minnesota Campaign Finance and Public Disclosure Board, yes or no? Did the Minnesota Board in June 2019 fine you $500 and order you to repay $3,500 to your campaign? Senator, yes or no? 5 seconds passed. Yes. For what, ma'am? The eyes went down to the bench, then back up. For using campaign funds for personal travel to a conference in Florida. Florida, yes, ma'am, the board found your use of campaign funds for personal travel to be a violation of Minnesota law. He set the page down. That is not a Republican investigation. That is the state of Minnesota. Omar's smile sharpened the combative smile. The voice was the Democratic Socialist's voice now, performative and practiced. Senator, this is the oldest playbook in American history. A white man with a folder, a black woman with a husband, a nation watching. She let it land. You are not investigating campaign finance, Senator. You are investigating my marriage because my marriage offends you. The Progressive Press section nodded. 3 reporters wrote. The Atlantic correspondent wrote one phrase. Investigating my marriage, underlined. Kennedy waited. He waited longer than the room expected. He picked up his coffee, took one sip, and set the cup down. Ma'am. The half-moon glasses came down on his nose. He looked at her over the lenses. In Madisonville, Louisiana, we have a saying. If a man's wife steals his Social Security check, the question is not the marriage. He let it sit. The question is the check. The hearing room stayed quiet. Your husband cashed $3 million in campaign checks, ma'am. $3 million. In the third row of the press section, a reporter from the Minnesota Star-Tribune stood up, gathered his notebook and his coat, and walked toward the side door. The cameras did not follow him, but Omar saw him leave, and for 1 second her eyes tracked the door. The smile did not move, but the eyes did. Kennedy turned to a 4th page with the U.S. Treasury seal at the top, Office of Foreign Assets Control. Ma'am, one more thing. He read the company name on the page, a separate firm, also co-founded by Mr. Mynett, public record. That company last year had its funds frozen by the United States Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control. The eyes came up. The Treasury Office of Foreign Assets Control, ma'am, typically handles sanctions, embargoes, terrorist organizations. He set the page down. Yes or no, ma'am, as a sitting member of Congress, did you ever ask why the United States Treasury was freezing your husband's company's funds? Senator, my husband's separate business activities are not under my... Yes or no? 6 seconds. No. Thank you, ma'am. Kennedy slid document 1 back into the folder. Comment, $3 million. If you watched a congresswoman avoid the question about her husband's frozen treasury funds, subscribe, because the next document is going to ask about Miss Omar's marriages, plural. Kennedy pulled out document 2. The label was visible. Marriage. Omar's white card moved in her hand for the first time in 40 minutes. The cameras caught the movement. The card was folded in half, and her hand was tighter on it now. Kennedy set document 2 on the bench. A Minnesota civil marriage certificate dated 2009, the Hennepin County seal visible. He took off his half-moon glasses, folded them, and set them on the bench beside the coffee cup. Ma'am, bear with me. I'm just a country lawyer. The paperwork gets a little tangled here. He picked the glasses back up and put them on. 2009, you filed a Minnesota civil marriage certificate, Hennepin County, with a man named Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi. Mr. Elmi, according to your own public statements, was a British citizen public record. He let it sit. Yes or no, ma'am, did you legally marry Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi in Hennepin County, Minnesota in 2009? Yes. Thank you. Kennedy turned to a second page, a public statement from Omar from 2016, a Star Tribune interview. Ma'am, yes or no, in 2002, did you also enter a religious marriage to a different man named Ahmed Hirsi? Senator, traditional Somali marriages are not legally registered. Yes or no? 5 seconds. Yes. Yes or no, was that religious marriage to Mr. Hirsi legally dissolved before you filed the civil marriage certificate to Mr. Elmi in 2009? The camera zoomed. The eyes went to Jeremy Slevin in the wings. Slevin's face was tight, and he did not look at her. Yes or no, ma'am? 8 seconds. The religious marriage to Mr. Hersey was not legally dissolved until 2017. Thank you, ma'am. Kennedy set the page down. So between 2009 and 2017, by your own statements, you were religiously married to Mr. Hersey and legally married to Mr. Elmy at the same time. The Progressive Press section did not move. The hearing room was silent. Omar straightened. The combative smile returned, and the voice came back sharper, the rally voice. Senator, you are a Christian. You have lawyers. You have wealth. You have the United States Senate as your office. I am a Somali refugee who came to this country with nothing. My culture has different marriage traditions. Your culture does not understand them. She let it land. This is cultural Islamophobia with a manila folder. The Progressive Press section nodded. Kennedy waited. He picked up his coffee, took one sip, and set the cup down. The cup was almost empty now. Ma'am, the half-moon glasses came off again, folded, and set on the bench. I grew up in Madisonville, Louisiana. We have Catholic, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, and one mosque. In every one of those traditions, marrying your brother is not a tradition. He let it sit. It is a felony in every state in the United States, including Minnesota. He turned to a fourth page, a Minnesota statute highlighted, section 609.365. Minnesota statute 609.365, incest felony, up to 10 years. He set the page down. That is not Islamophobia, ma'am. That is the Minnesota State Legislature. In the second row of the gallery, a man in a dark gray suit opened a manila folder of his own with the seal of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. The man wrote one word on a notepad inside the folder: match. The cameras caught this for 2 seconds. The man's badge was visible. DHS investigator, special agent. Omar did not see him, but Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina did. Senator Scott was the only black Republican on the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee, and he sat to the left of Kennedy. He had been a U.S. Senator for 11 years. He had grown up in North Charleston, South Carolina, the grandson of a man who picked cotton, the son of a single mother who worked 6-hour shifts. Senator Scott had not spoken in this hearing. When Omar said cultural Islamophobia, Senator Scott did not turn his head. He did not nod. He did not defend her. His face was hard. The cameras held on Senator Scott for 1 full second. Kennedy turned to a fifth page, a Daily Mail article from 2020. The headline was visible, an interview with a man named Abdi Hakim Osman, a former friend of the Omar family in Minneapolis. Kennedy read the quote in a slow Louisiana drawl. She told me she needed to get her brother papers. The voice was flat. Mr. Osman's words, public record, 2020. He set the page down. Ma'am, yes or no, did Mr. Abdi Hakim Osman in 2020 publicly state that you described Mr. Elmy as your brother? Senator, that man has been discredited. Yes or no, did he make the statement? 7 seconds. He made the statement, yes. Thank you. Kennedy turned to a 6-page, a joint federal tax return form for years, 2013 through 2016. Ma'am, yes or no, between 2013 and 2017, did you file joint federal tax returns? Senator, yes or no? Yes. With whom, ma'am? 6 seconds. The eyes went to the gallery, found no one, and came back. With Mr. Hersey. Mr. Hersey was not your legal husband at the time, ma'am. Mr. Elmy was. The room was very still. Kennedy let it sit. Joint federal tax filings with a man who was not your legal husband, years of them. The eyes went to her notebook on the bench. That is a federal tax fraud question, ma'am, independent of whatever the marriage was. He turned to a 7th page, a Washington Examiner investigation from 2019. The headline was visible. Ma'am, the Washington Examiner's 2019 investigation found dozens of documents with discrepancies in your marriage statements. The Federal Bureau of Investigation reportedly looked at the matter in 2020. He turned to an eighth page, a screenshot of a March 2026 interview with Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking on a podcast. March 2026, the Vice President of the United States, public statement, and I quote, Kennedy, read. We actually think that Ilhan Omar definitely committed immigration fraud against the United States of America. He set the page down. The Vice President of the United States said that, ma'am, on the record, 2 months ago. The hearing room was silent. Yes or no, ma'am, are you aware that the Department of Homeland Security, under the current administration, is pulling your immigration records? Senator, I cannot speak to ongoing investigations. Yes or no, are you aware of the records review? 6 seconds. I am aware of public statements to that effect. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Omar's hand tightened on the white card. The card creased slightly under her thumb. Comment, brother, if you just watched a congresswoman admit on a federal microphone to filing joint tax returns with a man who was not her legal husband. Subscribe, because the next document is the one Speaker Pelosi voted to condemn. Kennedy slid document 2 back into the folder. He pulled out document 3. The label was visible. Benjamin's. The camera zoomed. The document was a printed tweet with the date stamp at the top. The 10th of February, 2019, 11:17 at night. The tweet had been deleted, but the screenshot remained. Kennedy set document 3 on the bench and opened it. The tweet was visible to the cameras. He picked up his half-moon glasses and put them on. Ma'am, I'm going to read you 5 words. They are not my words, they are yours. The voice was the country lawyer voice, the slow one. He read, It's all about the Benjamins, baby. He let it sit. The 10th of February, 2019, 11:17, at night. Your verified Twitter account, public record. He turned to a second page. The following morning, the 11th of February 2019, you posted a second tweet, asked by a reporter, what political force was paying American politicians to support Israel? He read the second tweet, AIPAC. He set the page down. AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. The hearing room held still. Kennedy turned to a third page, an older tweet from 2012, before Omar was a congresswoman. Ma'am, 2012, your Twitter account, public record, yes or no, did you tweet, and I quote, Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. The camera zoomed on the page. Yes or no, ma'am? 4 seconds. Yes. Thank you. Kennedy took one sip of coffee. The cup was almost empty. Ma'am, in the American Jewish community, the phrase Jews and money is what we call a trope. The voice dropped 1 octave. This was the first gloves-off moment of the morning. You used a trope, ma'am. The eyes were quiet. In 2019, with a verified account to 3 million followers, he let it land. You used the same trope that was used in Munich in 1923, and in Vienna in 1897, and in Russia in 1881. The hearing room was very still. You used the trope that put my Jewish friend's great-grandparents in pits. The progressive press section did not move. The room held still. Omar's hand tightened on the white card, and the card creased more. Senator, I have apologized for that tweet. The voice was tighter now. I have spent 6 years building bridges with the Jewish community. She straightened. This is right-wing weaponization of a 6-year-old tweet to silence a Muslim woman who criticizes a foreign government. AIPAC is a lobbying group. I am allowed to criticize lobbying groups. First Amendment. The progressive press section nodded. Kennedy waited. He picked up the empty styrofoam cup, looked at it, and set it down. Ma'am, he turned to a fourth page, a roll call, dated the 2nd of February, 2023. The 2nd of February, 2023, the United States House of Representatives voted to remove you from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. He read the vote, 218 to 211. He set the page down. Yes or no, ma'am? Did Speaker Nancy Pelosi in 2019 publicly condemn your tweets about Israel and AIPAC? Senator, yes or no? 5 seconds. Yes. Did Representative Jerry Nadler of New York, a Jewish Democrat, publicly condemn the tweets? Yes. Did the House of Representatives, in a bipartisan resolution, House Resolution 241, formally condemn the comments? 8 seconds passed. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Kennedy turned to a 5th page. House Resolution 127, filed in 2024, a censure resolution. Ma'am. House Resolution 127, a censure resolution. 4, and I quote from the resolution text, recent, hateful comments and history of anti-Semitism. The resolution was filed by Representative Don Bacon, a Republican from Nebraska, co-sponsored by Representative Joe Wilson, Representative Derek Van Orden, and Representative Claudia Tenney. He looked up. The resolution cited your repeated public characterization of Israel as, quote, an apartheid state, and your repeated public accusations that Israel was committing, quote, genocide. Both statements are part of your public record, ma'am. He turned to a 6th page, a public statement from Daniel B. Shapiro, former U.S. Ambassador to Israel under President Obama. Ma'am, Mr. Daniel Shapiro, United States Ambassador to Israel, appointed by President Barack Obama. Public Statement, 2019. Kennedy read the Shapiro statement slow. Equating politicians' support for Israel to financial influence is the oldest anti-Semitic trope in history. He set the page down. That is not a Republican statement, ma'am. That is President Obama's ambassador to Israel. The room held still. Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland was the senior Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee. Senator Cardin was Jewish and had served 40 years in the United States Congress. When Kennedy read the Pelosi condemnation, the Nadler condemnation, the House resolution, Senator Cardin did not look at Omar. The camera zoomed on Cardin. His face was hard. He did not nod when Omar said bridges with the Jewish community, and he did not defend her when Omar said right-wing weaponization. The cameras held on Senator Cardin for 2 full seconds. The press section saw Cardin not defending her. The Atlantic correspondent wrote one word, Cardin. In the wings, Jeremy Sleevan's phone vibrated again with a new text from DCCC. The text read 2 words, pull her. Jeremy made a gesture to the Democratic ranking member. The ranking member shook her head. There was no recess motion available before the time expired. Slevin's phone went dark, and he did not pick it back up. Kennedy turned to a 7th page, a transcript dated 2019, from Busboys and Poets Bookstore in Washington, D.C. Ma'am, last item from this document. He read from the transcript. I want to talk about the political influence in this country that says it is okay to push for the allegiance to a foreign country. He set the page down. Allegiance to a foreign country, your words, your microphone, your event. He looked at her over the half-moon glasses. Ma'am, the accusation that American Jews have allegiance to a foreign country is what historians call the dual loyalty trope. The voice was quieter now. It is the trope that was used to expel Jews from Spain in 1492, from England in 1290, from Russia, from Germany, from every country in Europe over 600 years. He let it land. It is the trope that ended in 1,945 inches, a place called Auschwitz. The hearing room was silent. In your 6 years of bridge building, ma'am, did you ever sit down with a single Jewish constituent from Brooklyn, from Boca Raton, from Skokie, and ask them what allegiance means to a community whose grandparents were killed for it? Senator, yes or no, I have had conversations. Yes or no? 9 seconds. Omar did not answer. Comment Benjamins if you remember the night an American congresswoman accused American Jews of buying their politicians. Subscribe, because the next document is the heaviest one in the folder. Kennedy slid document 3 back into the folder. He pulled out document 4. The label was visible, 3000. The cameras zoomed on the document, a transcript highlighted in yellow under 5 specific words. Some people did something. Kennedy did not pick up the document. He let it sit on the bench open, the yellow highlight visible. He took off his half-moon glasses, folded them slowly while the chain swung once, and set them on the bench beside the empty styrofoam coffee cup. Then he picked up the document. The hearing room was quieter than it had been all morning. Ma'am, I am going to read you 5 words. They are not my words, they are yours. The voice was the slowest it had been all day. He read, Some people did something. The 5 words sat on the bench between them. The 23rd of March 2019, Council on American Islamic Relations, Greater Los Angeles, 4th Annual Valley Banquet, Hilton Woodland Hills, California. He let the location sit. Your speech 20 minutes long, live streamed by Fox News on Facebook, over 1 million views. He turned to a second page in the document. Ma'am, 20 seconds before the line about September 11th, you told the audience, and I quote, raise hell, make people uncomfortable. A. He looked up. 20 seconds later, 5 words about the 11th of September, 2001. He let it sit. Some people did something. The hearing room was silent. Kennedy did not look at Omar. He looked at the document. This was the second gloves-off moment of the morning. The half-moon glasses stayed on the bench. Ma'am, the voice was the country lawyer voice, but slower. I am going to name some people. He read from a 3rd page in the document a list of names. Jane Eileen Clear, 61 years old, from Marshfield, Massachusetts. American Airlines. Flight 11, mother of 3, headed to a wedding in Los Angeles. The room held still. Wells Crowther, 24 years old, from Nyack, New York, South Tower, wore a red bandana, walked back into the building 3 times to save 18 people, did not come back the 4th time. The camera zoomed on Kennedy. Francis Harros, 76 years old, from New Jersey, North Tower. He set the page down. 2,977. He let it sit. That is not some people, ma'am. The voice was lower now. That is 2,977 people. A breath. They had names. A breath. They had children. A breath. They had mothers. The hearing room was very still. Kennedy turned to a 4th page, a transcript from the 11th of September, 2019, Ground Zero Memorial Service in New York City. Ma'am, on the 11th of September, 2019, the 18th anniversary of the attacks, a man named Nicholas Harros Jr. stood at Ground Zero. He was the son of Francis Harros. Mr. Harros wore a T-shirt. The T-shirt had your 5 words on it. He read Mr. Harros's public statement in a slow Louisiana drawl. Madam, objectively speaking, we know who and what was done. Why your confusion? He set the page down. On that day, 19 Islamic terrorists, members of Al-Qaeda, killed over 3,000 people. That's what some people did. Got that now? The hearing room was silent. Kennedy did not move. Mr. Harros's mother was Frances Harros. She was 76. She worked in the North Tower. He let it sit. She had worked in the North Tower for 32 years. He looked at the document. She was at her desk on the 95th floor when American Airlines Flight 11 hit the building at 8:46 inches the morning. She was not killed by the impact. She was killed by the collapse 1 hour and 42 minutes later. He turned a page. During those 102 minutes, Frances Harros called her son Nicholas from the 95th floor twice. The camera zoomed on Kennedy. The second call, Nicholas could hear his mother breathing through smoke. He set the page down. Mr. Harros has been asking the country to remember his mother's name for 25 years. He turned to a 5th page, a New York Post cover from the 11th of April 2019. The cover had a photograph of the burning North Tower, and the headline, Representative Ilhan Omar, 9/11, was, Some people did something. Ma'am, the New York Post, the 11th of April, 2019. He let the photograph sit on the bench, public record. The cover of the New York Post was the burning of the building where Francis Harros worked, with your 5 words. He set the page down. The eyes went back to Omar. Ma'am, yes or no on the 23rd of March, 2019, at the Care Valley Banquet in Woodland Hills, California. Did you describe the September 11th attacks as, some people did something? Senator, the full context of that speech was about American Muslims facing discrimination after September 11th. I was speaking to a community traumatized by Islamophobia in the wake of the New Zealand mosque shootings. Yes or no, ma'am? Senator, the context. Yes or no? 7 seconds passed. The phrase appears in the speech, yes. Did you say it in front of an audience of approximately 500 American Muslims at a care banquet? Yes. Was the speech live streamed on Fox News' Facebook page to over 1 million people? 5 seconds. Yes. Did you say, 20 seconds earlier, raise hell, make people uncomfortable, yes or no? Senator, that line was about, yes or no? 9 seconds. Yes. The folded white prep card that had been in her hand for 53 minutes slipped, fell, and landed face up on the bench in front of her. The camera zoomed and the handwriting was visible, her own handwriting. She had written the card the night before in her kitchen at 11:47, after her staff had left. She had written it in her own hand, folded it once, put it in her left hand, and walked into Heart 219 with it. She had not opened it on the bench. She had not needed to. She had memorized the 3 lines. The card read 3 lines. Pivot to identity. Don't engage details. If pressed on 9/11, New Zealand mosques, never name the dead. The hearing room was silent. Second 1. The hand reached for the card, stopped midair. Second 2. The hand dropped. Second 3. The lips parted, no sound. Second 4. The lips closed. Second 5. The right hand reached for the water glass, picked it up, lifted it halfway to the mouth, set it back down. The water never touched her lips. Second 6. The headscarf shifted slightly at the temple. She did not adjust it. Second 7. The eyes scanned the gallery, found Senator Cardin. Cardin was not looking at her. Second 8. The eyes found the Democratic ranking member. The ranking member was not looking at her. Second 9. The eyes found Jeremy Slevin in the wings. Slevin's phone was in his lap, and he was not looking at her. Second 10. The lips parted again, no sound. Second 11. The lips closed. The card lay face up on the bench. The cameras held on the card and the handwriting was visible to 4.8 million Americans. Never name the dead. In the wings, Jeremy Slevin's phone went black. He did not pick it back up. 12 seconds. 13. 14. Kennedy did not move. He picked up his half-moon glasses, folded them, and set them on the bench. He picked up his styrofoam coffee cup, looked at it, the cup was empty, and set it down beside the glasses. He picked up the manila folder and closed it slowly. The 3/7-page folder with the 4 documents closed, the label Receipts, was visible. Ma'am, the voice was the lowest it had been all morning. He looked at the white card on the bench face up, her handwriting visible. 2,977, ma'am. A breath. You wrote, never name the dead. He let it sit. I just named 3. Comment, 3,000 names. If you watched a country lawyer from Madisonville, Louisiana, name 3 Americans who died on the 11th of September, 2001. Subscribe, because the next chapter is the one question that decides everything. The card stayed face up on the bench, the handwriting stayed visible, and the smile did not return. Kennedy picked up the manila folder, held it briefly, and set it down. The folder was closed, and the label, Receipts, was visible. Ma'am, one question. The room held still. He let the silence build for 4 seconds. Across $3 million in campaign payments to your husband's firm, across 1 Minnesota civil marriage certificate to a man your friend says you called your brother, across 1 tweet about Benjamins, 1 town hall, about allegiance. One vote of 218 to 211. A breath. Across 2,977 Americans who died on a Tuesday morning in September of 2001. He let the four facts sit on the bench. Yes or no, ma'am? Do you owe the country an apology? The hearing room was silent. Omar's hands rested on the bench. The folded white prep card was still face up, her handwriting still visible. The water glass was still half full. The microphone was still in front of her. She tried the identity card one more time. The voice was tighter than it had been all morning. Senator, this entire proceeding has been a partisan witch hunt by a Republican senator from a state that, yes or no, ma'am? I'll wait. The first, second, the third. She looked at Senator Cardin. Cardin was not looking at her. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth. She looked at the Democratic ranking member. The ranking member was not looking at her. The seventh, the eighth. She looked at the prep card on the bench. The handwriting was still visible. Never name the dead. The ninth, the 10th. She cleared her throat. The sound was small, but the microphone caught it. I have apologized many times, Senator. The voice was small now. Did you apologize today, ma'am? 6 seconds. Omar did not answer. The 11th second, the 12th. Kennedy nodded once. He picked up the manila folder and set it on the bench open to document 1. The label, money, was visible. Mr. Chairman, I yield the remainder of my time. The folder is entered into the record. The country can read it tonight. The chairman gave a 30-minute recess. The gavel hit twice. The sound carried through the room. Omar stood. The navy blazer adjusted itself on her shoulders, and the headscarf stayed at the temple. She did not pick up the prep card. She did not pick up the leather notebook, and she did not pick up the half-full water glass. She gathered her phone and her water bottle slowly. Her hands moved deliberately the way hands move when they are not sure what they are supposed to do next. She did not look at Jeremy. She did not look at Senator Cardin. She did not look at Senator Tim Scott. And she did not look at Kennedy. She walked toward the side door. The walk was 12 steps, and the cameras counted them. Step 1. Her left hand was empty. Now the card had fallen from it minutes ago, and she had not picked it back up. Step 2. The press section was silent. The progressive reporters had stopped writing. Step 3. The Democratic ranking member was looking at her own notebook. Step 4. The DHS investigator in the second row of the gallery had closed his manila folder. The word match was inside. Step 5. The cameras counted every step. Step 6. The aide, who had handed her the water bottle at 8:43, was not in the room. Step 7. Her phone was in her right hand, the screen dark. Step 8. Her left hand reached up and touched the temple of her headscarf, but the scarf had not moved. Step 9. The hand dropped. Step 10. The press section watched her. Step 11. The cameras held on her back. Step 12. She reached the door. At the door, she paused, and the cameras followed her. Kennedy was still seated, the folder on the bench open to document 1. He was not looking at her. He was looking at the folder. Ma'am, she paused. My door is open any time. He picked up his empty styrofoam coffee cup and looked at it. You bring me your version of the documents, we will go through them page by page. The voice was quiet now. The country will wait. She did not respond and walked out. The folder stayed on the bench, open to document 1. The prep card stayed face up on the witness table. The leather notebook stayed where she had left it, and the water glass stayed half full. The door closed behind her with the kind of sound a heavy door makes when nobody on either side wants to slam it, but nobody wants to soften it either. By 11:38, 4 hashtags trended on every American platform. Number some people did something. Number 3000 names. Number never name the dead. Number receipts folder. The 5-3 second clip of the prep card sliding from her hand had 78 million views by sundown. The 1-1 second clip of Kennedy, reading three names, had 94 million. The 8-second clip of the prep card handwriting, "Never Name the Dead," was the most shared image of the day. In Marshfield, Massachusetts, a man whose mother was Jane Eileen Clear watched the clip on his phone. He had not heard his mother's name said on national television in 23 years. He was 61 now. His mother had been 61 when she died. In Nyack, New York, a woman who was the sister of Wells Crowther watched the clip. She kept her brother's red bandana in a frame on her mantel. She had been 22 when Wells climbed back into the South Tower for the fourth time. She was 46 now. In New Jersey, Nicholas Harros Jr. posted on social media one sentence: "Today, a senator from Louisiana named my mother after 25 years." That sentence, by sundown, was the most quoted line on the American internet. In Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, a retired New York Police Department officer watched the clip. He had been at the South Tower on the 11th of September, 2001. He had carried 4 people out before the building came down. He had not said his colleagues' names on television in 25 years. He said them in his living room to his wife. She had been waiting for someone to say them. Jeremy Slevin released a statement on behalf of Omar at 1:14:11 sentences. The word partisan 3 times, the phrase Republican witch hunt twice, the phrase Muslim woman of color 4 times, the phrase raise hell and make people uncomfortable once. The statement did not mention the Tim Mynett payments, the Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi marriage certificate, Francis Harros, Jane Eileen Clear, or Wells Crowther. That statement, in a way, was the entire scandal, because the woman who had been the first Somali American member of Congress had just spent 43 minutes of live television refusing to name 3 Americans who died on a Tuesday morning in September of God, 2001. By sundown, the communications director had not named them either. This is the Democratic Party establishment in a single Tuesday morning. For 7 years, Representative Ilhan Omar was sold to the American working class as the conscience of the new generation, the fighter for the marginalized, the congresswoman who would speak truth to the establishment. 7 years later, the conscience has become the documented record of contradictions between her own published positions and her own documented actions. $3 million in campaign payments to her husband's firm after a Minnesota state fine for campaign funds misuse. 1 Minnesota civil marriage certificate to a man her former community friend says she called her brother. 1 tweet about Benjamins, 1 bookstore comment about allegiance, 1 House vote of 218 to 211, 1 speech in Woodland Hills, 5 words about September 11th. 3,000 Americans who can no longer hear them. The Democratic Party did not just protect a freshman congresswoman. The Democratic Party protected a congresswoman who described the September 11th attacks as "some people did something" for 5 years. Speaker Pelosi condemned the Benjamins' tweet in 2019 and kept her on committees. The Foreign Affairs Committee vote was 218 to 211 on the 2nd of February 2023, and all 211 Democrats voted to keep her on the committee. After 6 years of anti-Semitism complaints, after House Resolution 241, after the bookstore allegiance comment, after Francis Harros, Jane Eileen Clear, and Wells Crowther, every Democratic leader in Washington given the choice between Representative Ilhan Omar and the names of 2,977 Americans chose Representative Ilhan Omar. They chose the brand, chose the legacy, chose the seat in the chamber. And the Americans who watched their mother, their brother, their daughter climb into a plane on a Tuesday morning in September of 2001 and not come home, they paid the bill. The bill was paid in $3 million of family campaign finance, in 1 Minnesota marriage certificate to a man named Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi, in 1 tweet about Benjamins, and 1 bookstore comment about allegiance, in 1-2-0 minute speech with 5 words about a Tuesday morning in September of 2001. The Congresswoman walked out of the Hart Senate office building at 12:14. Her prep card did not walk with her. It stayed on the witness table, face up, her own handwriting visible. Never name the dead. The black SUV at the curb did not know where to take her. Neither did she. The driver, after 18 minutes of circling the Capitol, finally asked, "Congresswoman, where to?" She did not answer. The driver circled the Capitol 2 more times. He did not ask again because there was no answer. There is no road in the United States of America today that takes a congresswoman home from a hearing where her own prep card just said, "Never name the dead." And a country lawyer from Madisonville, Louisiana, named 3. If you made it this far, you just heard the morning a senator from Louisiana sat across from the first Somali American member of Congress and opened a manila folder. The folder had no opposition research, no conservative think tank annotations, no partisan media commentary. The folder had 4 documents: money, marriage, Benjamin's 3,000. All 4 documents were from Representative Ilhan Omar's own public record, her own tweets, her own marriage certificate, her own campaign filings, her own speech transcripts. She refused to apologize. The folder is on the bench. Open to document 1. The country has the receipts. Smash that like button if you believe a manila folder with the villain's own public record still beats a press release. Subscribe if you want to see who walks into Heart 219 next. Comment 3,000 names if you think the country lawyer from Madisonville, Louisiana, just rewrote the rules of the United States Senate hearing room. Share this with the firefighter in your life, with the Jewish friend in your life, with the Minnesota small business owner in your life, with the mother in New Jersey who has waited 25 years for someone to name her son's mother. Tonight, Madam Congresswoman, when you take the Navy headscarf off in front of your bedroom mirror, the country wants you to know it watched your prep card fall. It watched the handwriting. Pivot to identity. Don't engage details. Never name the dead. The country watched. The country read. The country remembered. And the country tonight has only one question. The 4 documents, the receipts, the names, the numbers, the 2,977 Americans, the mother in Marshfield, Massachusetts, the brother in Nyack, New York, the son in New Jersey. Do you owe them an apology? Yes or no? Some people did something. 3,000 Americans died. And tonight, a country lawyer from Madisonville in Hart, hearing room 219, on a Tuesday morning in April 2026, named 3 of them: Jane, Eileen, Clear from Marshfield, Wells Crowther from Nyack, Francis Harros from New Jersey. 3 out of 2,977. The country will name the rest page by page, folder by folder, hearing room by hearing room, until every American who climbed onto an airplane on that Tuesday morning, or sat down at a desk on the 95th floor, or pulled on a fire helmet at 6:0 inches the morning, or kissed their child goodbye at 7, has been named on a federal microphone by a country lawyer with a manila folder. The folder is on the bench. The country is reading. The receipts are public, and the names are coming. The folder, the receipts, the names. The country has been waiting 25 years. Tonight the country listens. Tonight the country remembers. Tonight the country says the names. Madam Congresswoman, your turn. Now, the country is waiting. The country has the names. The country has the receipts.